You are watching the Kingdom School of Empowered Living. Tonight, the topic is Women Embracing Change. Grab your pen and your notebook and join me in welcoming Doretha Miller and her special guest.
Good evening. Welcome to School of Empowered Living. This evening, we are going to be dealing with women. Women embracing the changes. Women embracing the changes of life. So, women, I invite you to please call your family, your sisters, your friends, call everyone so that they can hear this important information about the changes that takes place in a woman's life. I have with me this evening our guest, who is Lady Patrice Lockhart Stubbs. Patrice is a certified menopause coach. So, what the topic that we're going to be dealing with is menopause. Menopause, one of the transitions in a female's life, one of the transitions in the life of a female. You know, October 18th this year, which is 2 weeks away, Patrice,
2 weeks.
has been set aside as Menopause Month or Menopause Day. That is October the 18th, Menopause Day. Women of Excellence has decided to use that platform to help to inform and to educate and to empower women on the awareness of menopause. Patrice, welcome to the School of Empowered Living.
It is so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
First of all, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay.
Why menopause?
Why menopause?
What is it about menopause that have you doing all of this research? And I know that you are well researched and well qualified. Tell us a bit about yourself and your qualifications.
You know, first it began with God choosing this. I didn't know about it. And when I first went into menopause many years ago, it makes it sound like I'm very, very old.
That's okay.
When I went into menopause, I didn't know what was going on with me. And I had 8 years of tumultuous symptoms, going to doctors and no one being able to help me. And it can be a very lonely place when you start. For me, and some of the ladies have heard my story, I was not sleeping for about a year. I was having issues.
How old were you at that time?
I was in my early 40s.
40s, okay.
And what I learned was stress had triggered the menopause in my life. And yeah, I was about 42, 43. And I was working in the corporate world as well. And I remember I was having issues sleeping. And then I went into 6 weeks of sleeping for under an hour to an hour. And at this point, my brain was doing crazy things. My brain was acting like the old black and white television screens they used to have back in the day. Then I would literally see bits and pieces of like a movie and black and white. And that was not normal. And I was dealing with a lot of anxiety. I didn't know what was going on. And it was also a time in my life when, honestly, I was dealing with a lot of rejection. And so I was very alone in that time. It was very hard for me. And working in a corporate world where there were only men in the area where I was also another issue. It was so bad until one time, I remember we had a meeting, all males. I am the only female at this meeting, mostly whites. And these are foreigners, etc. And my boss was a foreigner, and I deliberately sat at the back. And he was at the front doing a presentation, and he stopped and he said, "Patrice, stop sleeping." Every head turned towards
My
me.
goodness,
It
embarrassing.
was exceptionally embarrassing. And at this point, I had said nothing to my boss. I just tried to show up every day. I was tired. I was not sleeping, but I had to function. And if you know anything about the corporate world, either you show up and you do what you have to do, or someone will replace you. And I remember that was one of the difficult moments for me. And I remember having to go in his office and then talk to him and tell him about what was going on. And I only did that because I wanted to save my job.
Right, yeah.
And I remember, and it was pure God. The only reason why he had compassion on me, because at that same time, his wife was dealing with the same
Oh
thing.
my goodness.
And they had diagnosed she was dealing with anxiety, etc. So that was the only thing that softened his heart towards me. And for so long, I hid it. I didn't tell anybody until it got to the point where not only for the 6 days, but then the 3 days and 3 nights of not sleeping. And at this point, a family member, I had to ask for help, and a family member had to come and take me out of my home and care for me. Um, at that point, I didn't know day from night. I remember feeling lost, completely lost, because my brain was doing this stuff. No one was understanding, no one knew what was going on. Um, I was being rejected. And then my sister in law had worked at the hospital. And it was about the third day when I wasn't sleeping. And by this time, when I said I was a zombie, my body was doing everything opposite to what it was supposed to normally be doing. And I remember her looking at me because she was so afraid. She said to me, "Patrice, do you know what happens when you stop sleeping?" And she said, "Your organs are going to start shutting down," because things had already started happening with my body. And she wanted me to go to the doctor, to the hospital, but I had refused. I kept on saying, all I need to do is sleep.
Sleep.
If I could just sleep, then I could handle life. Um, and it was that third night when life just got stupid for me. Um, and I had a terrible experience. And then I said to her, "Please take me to the hospital." And that was an experience. Went to the hospital. The medical doctors examined me, and I kept on saying, "Look, nothing's wrong with me. I just need to sleep. Please," I was begging to sleep. Jesus, when you need to sleep. After examining me, they determined that nothing physically was wrong with me. And they had recommended that I see a psychiatrist. And so the psychiatrist came, and my sister-in-law, they dealt with me. And she explained to me, "Patrice, they can help you. But in order for them to help you, you have to be admitted." And I said to her, "Can they help me sleep?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Whatever." And I was admitted. It was a horrible time for me. And I've just started talking about this part of my testimony. And I was brought before a number of psychiatrists. And I remember that clearly. And they were questioning me, etc. And they deemed that there was nothing wrong with me psychologically.
Wow.
And so The medical doctor said nothing's wrong with you. The psychologist says nothing's wrong with you. But I wasn't sleeping. I was putting on weight, dealing with this anxiety. Um, no one could help me. Um, After that, went to this place owned by Germans, and they seemed to offer some kind of hope to help me. Went there. When I went there, they had me on this table. They hooked me up. She was like, I need you to relax. And I said, I'm relaxed. She said, no, you're not. My body, everything was going crazy. Um, they left me there for about 45 minutes to an hour and came back. And, they left me with the spa music, all that good stuff. When she came back and hooked me back up, she looked at me, are you relaxed? And I looked at her, I'm like, yeah. She said, your body is going crazy. My body was just going crazy. She said, it was like you're running a marathon. I later learned that my cortisol hormone was stuck on, and which is the fight or flight with the adrenaline, and wouldn't turn off. So if that couldn't turn off, I couldn't sleep. And in order for that to turn off, I had to sleep. In order for me to sleep, that had to turn. So it was like I was in a crazy cycle. That and the near heart attack they thought I had brought me to a place where God had said to me when dealing with one lady, a couple of ladies, this is why you had to go through what you had to go through. And
in order to get where you are.
yeah,
So
and to
tell
help
me,
women.
at that time, did they diagnose you as,
No
so you
doctor.
still didn't find out?
No,
Okay, so
8 years
how long
after.
after? Okay,
8 years after
after
going to
that.
doctors in Grand Bahama and in Nassau. 8 years I went through it.
So out of those experiences, because it's not this experience, out of those experiences, birth a passion in you
Yes,
to
that's
help women
somebody.
who were dealing
Right.
with
And
menopause.
God has a way
So
of
when did you
birthing
when
this.
did you find out that it was menopause? 8 years later. Tell
Eight
me about
years
that.
later, it was the night I thought I was having a heart attack. I called a girlfriend. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning. I was very afraid. And I was afraid, and I called her, and I woke up out of her sleep, and she said so gently after listening to me, Patrice, I don't know why you don't accept the fact that you're perimenopausal. And when she said that, I stopped because I had already done a lot of research.
Well, with her saying that, I guess she thought you knew about menopause.
Right. And she had been through it with her mom. And in my head, which a lot of Christian women do, they say, I'm not going to go through that. I had figured I didn't have to go through menopause. I'd seen it with other women. I was working where I was working. And so, as far as I was concerned, I decreed and declared that I was not going to experience
Okay, so you spiritualized.
I promise you I
You
did.
spiritualized
I was not
a
pro-
natural
processed.
transition
Yes.
of the body.
And see, because I didn't know.
And because you didn't know,
I
I'm
didn't
sure
know.
you thought
I
that the
thought,
devil was really
I
after you
worked,
and
and
all of
what had
that.
happened just prior to that, I worked in an organization with 2 women going through menopause. One going through the crazy hot flashes and whatnot, and the other one not. And so I was
But
like,
you still
mm-mm.
was not convinced that
No,
it could happen to
I
you.
took the side of the one who wasn't dealing with anything, and I said, that's going to happen to me in Jesus' name. And I decreed and declared it, and I thought it was so.
You know, before we move into the next set of questions, oh wow, this is just so interesting because this is exactly what believers do.
Yeah.
Believers make up their mind that
rebuke and you bind and you
Something is not going to
cancel.
happen to me,
And it's a natural transition.
even as far as their diet. I don't have to eat healthy diet. I'm praying.
Yeah, I'm
High
going to
blood
fast and
pressure
pray.
and
No.
it's not going to affect me.
Natural
So we
laws God put in place.
spiritualize
Yes.
things,
Hmm.
and laws are established.
Yes. And
There are some laws
that,
that governs the
that's it.
body
That's it.
that
And
are
the government's
established,
life.
and
And
you
our
cannot spiritualize it.
Pastor
You
Dave
have to
just
walk.
talk about that.
You have to walk through it.
Good success. And if you want to have good success, there are some laws that God has set to govern life. If you work with them, you're going to attract goodness and blessings. If you work against them, you're going to attract curses and negativity,
Yeah.
whether you like it or
As a
not.
matter of fact, Deuteronomy 28, 1 to 14 goes through it.
Yes.
And 14 and beyond, at least 1 to 14 goes through the blessing.
Yeah.
14 and beyond goes through the curses.
Curses. Yeah.
So it all goes back to responsibility.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
we are going to transition as
Whether you like
whether you
it or
want to or not. A woman goes through these things. It starts from
yeah, in
from
her
young,
40s.
from puberty
Well, the
to
changes, yes.
adolescence, then the
Yes.
menopause,
The
then
adult stage.
menstrual cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and then menopausal cycle, and that is all normal transition. And God has created a woman's body to reproduce.
Yes.
And because God has created a woman's body to reproduce, that is the reason why we have to go through these changes.
Yes, we were designed to start
Yes,
reproduction
yes.
during puberty, and menopause is when it ends.
When it ends. So one would say that knowledge is power.
No, I often say
Information and
knowledge is a
knowledge.
weapon. I tell
Yes.
menopausal women, in fact, this month, like you said, is World Menopause
Wait,
Menopause Awareness.
we're gonna get to that.
Okay,
Let's not go
okay,
ahead.
yeah,
Let's let's transition to it.
okay,
But would we really want women to understand out of this first information is that there are some natural laws that governs your body,
yes,
and knowledge is understanding,
yes,
right?
mm-hmm.
Understanding is knowledge is
Knowledge,
information.
right?
Knowledge
Yeah,
is
and then
information.
we understand.
Understanding is comprehension. Once you have knowledge and you understand something, then you have the comprehension of what it is. But application is wisdom. So the onus on a female is to seek that knowledge, get that knowledge,
Yes.
read up about it. Just about every woman must have heard at some point in their life this word called menopause. So, ladies, I encourage you to go and do some study, go and do some research on menopause, and because it will affect you in some way.
And you know what, if I might add to that, um, because there's so much information, and that's one of the issues. A lot of women are intimidated with that. And that's why one of the things I do is menopause education. I have the seminars because a lot of times, though, women don't necessarily, because there's a lot of information out there, know how to decipher it.
Right, yes.
And also, with every woman, her symptoms are different from the next woman's symptoms. And one of the things that I have issues too with my clients, some of them come to me, well, I use this and I use that, and it didn't work. And once I have their symptoms, I do this a symptomology chart. And once I have their symptoms, I am able to tell what's going on based on their symptoms. And I often tell women, you cannot decide just to go in a store and pick up something because you heard it's good.
Right.
It always depends on what symptoms you're dealing with. So education is key.
It sounds to me, Coach, that you have really taken this menopause to the next level. It means that you are coaching women one on one,
Yes.
and in talking to you, even bringing their husband in on some of
Yes.
these coaching sessions,
Yes.
so that you can really give women information,
Yes.
so that they can know how to deal with this menopause. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, now listen, a survey was done
Mm-hmm.
on how well women know and understand what is menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And some questions were sent in by
Mm-hmm.
different
Yes.
women wanting to
Yes.
know these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you some of these questions so that you can help the general
Mm-hmm.
listening
Okay.
audience of women on what really is menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And these questions were burning questions
Mm.
that these women had.
Yes.
And I'm sure you are ready and able to handle all of
Yeah,
these
I will
questions.
answer to my
And from
best.
just talking to you, it sounds like help, hope, and help is here.
Amen. I love that.
Hope, help, and
Hope,
support.
help, and support. I'm gonna
You,
do that.
you know, it's here, ladies.
Yes.
Listen, you don't have to go through what Patrice and a lot of other women would have gone through. Hope and help is here.
Yes.
We have a certified menopause coach who can help you. So please don't go through those suffering alone. Okay, the first question someone wanted to know, what causes a woman to go into menopause?
A woman goes into menopause because her body is using up the last of the eggs she came to this earth with. When you
Okay.
and I came into this world, every little girl, we come with what I call a little basket of eggs. And when a woman goes into that perimenopause stage, that means she's on the last set of eggs that
Oh
her
my
body is going to be
goodness.
using.
Eggs.
Yes, those eggs, you're using of the last of your eggs during this time. And this is when the estradiol levels begin to decline because you're on the last set of eggs until eventually they diminish when you go into
So
menopause.
there was a purpose for those eggs.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Lord implanted those eggs
Yes, for
in
about
your
33 years,
creation
for about
for
33
about
years,
33
we
years
have about that much worth
to
of eggs.
reproduce
And then afterwards, we're
so that
finished.
man could continue. And after that reproduction period is finished, then the eggs
We-
are finished.
They're finished.
Wow, wow.
uh-huh.
I'm sure everyone could understand that. Could
Yeah.
understand that. Okay, now we talk about why a woman goes into menopause, but we hear this word going around called perimenopause.
hmm
How is perimenopause different from menopause?
Perimenopause is actually a part of the stage of menopause. Menopause literally has three stages. The
Okay.
perimenopause is that 8 to 10 year period before a woman actually stops bleeding. Then she would go into menopause. And a woman does not go into menopause until officially she's had 12 full months of not bleeding.
Okay.
That day, actually,
Has
menopause is
12
known
full months of not having a
not
period.
having a period. And on that day, she's in menopause. And then afterwards is called postmenopause up until about 65. Usually on the books, we go into that stage between 51 and 58 years old.
So the perimenopause would start maybe about
Their
40,
40s, in the 40s, yes, early 40s.
and most women, by the time they are 50, then they will stop having a period.
Yes, most I have been finding between 51 and
Some women are a little
54.
longer. Eh?
No, 50, yeah, 51 to 54 is the average age
Age.
I find women ending. I've had a group, though, of women, clients I found ending around 48, 49. I've had a few of those as well.
Oh, wow.
hmm
48, 49.
Yes.
Yeah,
In
okay.
fact, the blacks in America and Latino women seem to end around that time.
Okay, okay.
hmm
Well, I know someone who is well into the 50s
And
and
having
still having
58.
a regular 58, you know.
Uh-huh. I
Exactly.
have met women. There was one woman, the first one, 65, and was still having a period. Can you imagine that? She said when she
My
went on the
world.
retreat with the church, said the ladies ran out the room. She was bleeding.
Oh my goodness. Okay, how do I know when I'm in menopause? That's another burning question.
Yes, most of us don't know when our bodies make that change.
Okay.
Um, when it first begins, the perimenopause first begins. Um, Truthfully, like I said, most of us don't know. I know for me only because when I was studying and certifying, it was only then it made me think about. I remember the time in my early 40s when my period changed. I was having it at the beginning of the month all my life. And I remember it moved to the middle. But that was the only thing that happened. And only afterwards did I realize,
Did you pinpoint it?
oh, my body had just began the change. And some women, it happens like that. For some women, they experience more of the symptoms, and usually though it's in the middle to late 40s when they really start kicking in with the symptoms. But for a while, initially, I find that for a lot of women, it's silent.
Okay, now I want to go back on something you said when you were explaining or describing your symptoms.
Hmm.
You said stress brought on
Trigger.
the symptoms even more. So,
Yes.
would you say that stressful conditions and can actually
Yeah.
increase some of those symptoms?
Yeah, if it does. One of the things I often tell my clients, menopause and stress is not a good marriage for us as
Wow.
women.
Say that again.
Eh, Menopause and stress, they don't make a good couple at all. You talk about
Mm,
an odd
mm.
couple or unequally yoked.
Wow, it's
Menopause and
powerful.
stress, because what stress does for us as women is that it causes the cortisol and the adrenaline to pump in our bodies, and that's what was going on with me. And that's why it ended up that I was told, it was like my cortisol pump was turned on and couldn't turn off. And one of the things I often tell women, because some women tell me, "Oh, I don't have any stress at work, or I only have stress in this area or whatnot." And stress, whether it's environmental, whether it's physical, or whether it's emotional, it doesn't matter. The body will respond. And because our bodies are in such a sensitive state, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. So a lot of women, they're putting on weight. They don't even understand why. Stress is triggering it. And even before that, when a woman goes into her 40s and 50s, we then even become at a higher risk for cardiovascular disease.
Wow, so that really tells me that women need to pay attention, be
Yes.
present, and be
Yes.
mindful in everything they do.
Yes.
Planning and preparation so that they don't allow themselves to be caught up in too much stress. And
You're
that
right.
women need to not take on too much things because
Yes.
sometimes women are busy all the time. Women in the
Busy
church
saving the
going to
world.
this meeting, that meeting, women working two jobs, trying to make sure that their children get the
Hmm.
education that they decide in their mind that the children should have,
Mm.
even the education that they cannot afford, but women will kill themselves trying to make sure they do all of
Yes.
these things.
Hmm.
And all of these things,
Stresses
I
all.
dare say, are
Stresses
stressors
for the
that
body. Yeah,
contributes to stress.
it
So
does.
that is why some women have such a horrific time. Like some women can sail through menopause, and
Yes.
some women can, what's the other one?
They deal with severe symptoms. And it depends on the body, it depends on your environment, it depends on what's going on.
Yes,
All of these are um, triggers, can be triggers
triggers.
for these
So
symptoms.
mindfulness.
Yes,
Mindfulness is
being
the state of
very aware.
open, active attention to the present every day.
Yes.
Pay active, open attention to whatever is going on in the life women so that you can
Self care.
alleviate
Yes.
some of these stresses
Self
that
care,
can
so
result is
important.
self-care.
Hmm.
That's right. Self-care. Okay, explain what are some of the common symptoms of menopause? Name some of this
Okay.
all those horrific symptoms.
um, a, everybody knows menopause for hot flashes and night sweats. And many women say, oh, I didn't have any of them. I didn't go through menopause. But menopause is more than the hot flashes and the night sweats. Menopause affects our brain. So that's why we have the memory fog, the lack of focus and concentration, the
Mood swings.
forgetfulness. Oh, that's the next part of the brain. Then the other part of the brain, the amygdala, is emotional center. So women deal with the irritability, the mood swings. All of that is because the low mood, etc.
And you know what? Because sometimes when women don't experience the hot flashes and all of that, they don't realize that
They're going,
these are the symptoms,
yeah,
those mood swings,
that
the
irritability, that
irritability
low
and
mood, that
the
depression, that
tolerance
anxiety.
level is so low.
Oh, some
All
women
of
tell me,
those things are
yes.
menopausal
And it's
symptoms.
chemical. And what I tell
Yes.
women is that it's chemical. Many women think something's wrong with them, so they try to hide it. They don't even want to see a therapist or whatnot. And we have that habit here in the
Yes,
Bahamas.
yes.
We don't mind going to a doctor if something is wrong with us physically, but if another part of us is dealing with an issue, something's wrong with you.
Yes.
But
Like
it's a
it's taboo.
yes,
Women
very
feel like if
taboo.
if you are going to see someone for your emotional well-being, it means that maybe
Something's wrong with you.
something is wrong with
Oh,
you.
you know what we say? Loose cannon or
See
screw
there?
loose. What are all those words we say?
Yeah, but the thing
Yeah.
about it is, yes, something could be wrong with you.
Mm.
Some just how
It's
something could
chemical.
be wrong with your physical body,
Yeah, it's
something could
chemical.
be wrong with your emotional body. You can have a
Yes.
chemical imbalance,
Yes.
and the psychologists and psychiatrists and those doctors that study the mind and the emotion, they have studied how to help. So
Yes.
please, ladies, if you need to talk to someone, go and talk to someone. Hope and help is here. Okay, now did you say emotionalism, confusion, depression, and all those things?
All of
All of
those.
those
And then
things?
the other part of the brain, that's just two parts of the brain we touched on. The other part of the brain, of course, is the hot flashes, the night sweats, the dizziness, the nausea, and the headache, the
Oh my
vasomotor
goodness.
system part of the brain. Then when women can't sleep, it's the stem of the brain
Oh
is
wow.
being affected, and it's because these parts of the brain is not getting the support that you've been used to getting all of these years of your life,
Mhm.
from puberty up to the time that the estradiol begins to decline, and it's like that part of the brain begins to cry out. And
Yes.
I often tell women menopause is not just a reproductive transition, it's a transition for our brain. So, brain health is so important during this time
Brain health
and
is
even after.
so important
Very.
because estrogen and progesterone are hormones, right?
Yes, yes.
And hormones are message receptors to the body.
That's it. They said
So
they have
that part of the
signaling
brain
power.
is lacking the message that it
Yeah,
needed
that's it. And
in
that's
order to function,
exactly
and that
what's
throws it
happening.
everything off
Yes, that
balance.
part of the brain is not that memory. When you see you can't remember and you're forgetting, that memory part of your brain is not getting the support from the estradiol that it's been used to getting. And
Powerful.
so we feel these things.
And how long do these symptoms last?
Uh,
That's
it
that's
depends.
a five
Every,
pound
yeah,
question.
that's because perimenopause, like for me, I went through perimenopause for 12 years.
Oh my world.
After the 8 years when I learned that I was menopausal, perimenopausal, and paid all that money, been to the doctors, had all kind of EKG and whatnot or ECG, you know. After a while, and when I asked him after we were waiting for the test for my heart to see if I had a heart attack or not. Um, when I asked him what happened, when he told me, I don't know. I'm like, you don't know? And he explained it to me. He said it's like there was a bucket of water and somebody took their hand and plunged into that bucket of water. So there was a lot of activity. And then the water in the bucket calmed down and then somebody else just passed and it was calm. He said, I don't know what happened to you. So
Wow.
when
That is rough.
when I learned it, because I had already begun to do some research and it had said that, but I was doubting that. But when I accepted it, I had to go on a journey with God and myself to become my own rescue. I was desperate. The heart palpitations were crazy. Um, they were causing me not to sleep. I would get weak. There were times I couldn't breathe. Um, and I had to be, because I was already in the natural health field, I went to work right away. I went to work right away. And it was crazy because as I began to find answers for myself and apply them, God would send women to me and it's like, why God doing this? Women would
See?
come to me. And
Wow.
it's like, geez. And
There is
after they
purpose in your
kept coming to
passion,
me, and I realized,
and you had
okay,
answers.
yes. And then um, and because they were saying a lot of the same things that happened to me,
You.
and doctors wanted to put them on antidepressant because I remember the same thing. I was like, I look depressed to you. I got some issues, but I look depressed. And I decided that's when I went into looking into certifying as a menopause health practitioner. And I
Okay.
began to really search where. And that's when I decided to do it in the UK because there was so much more support and research.
Okay.
And I'm a part of a
Okay.
global network
Interesting.
of menopausal practitioners where all the research, we have access to it right away when it comes out.
Okay, Lady Patrice, our menopause coach. How does menopause impact the self esteem of a woman and her self worth in today's society?
Mm, it does affect her tremendously. Women, because of the weight they begin to put on, the abdominal fat, they become very self-conscious. Many of them wonder their husbands still love them. They have issues in that area.
And I
Many,
suppose sometimes the men don't really understand what is going on.
no,
Sometimes they think the woman is just being lazy and letting herself get out of
nah.
hand.
Hormonal fat
Oh
is
my
different
goodness.
from
Yeah.
weight fat. It's harder
Mhm.
to lose. And then the final thing about that is that it affects women the way they feel about themselves.
So,
That
what
is a
can
big
women
issue.
do to build their self worth and self esteem?
Here's what I said to one lady who was in a session with her husband. She began to talk so badly about her body because her body had changed. And I said to her, your body is beautiful, wonderfully made. I said, this body has been serving you all your life. You've been able to make money. You've been able to put pressure on your body to do the things that you wanted to do. Now that your body is going through a crisis, your body needs you to love it,
Wow, that's
not
good.
curse it,
That's
not
good.
talk negative about it, but you have to care for your body and do what the body needs. So, loving yourself, it does affect women, but loving themselves is important.
So, women need to talk to someone just to
Yes,
help to clear some of the clutter that's
yes,
in their mind. Now,
yes.
can a woman become pregnant during menopause?
That is the question of a lifetime.
Yes.
Now, normally, when a woman stops bleeding, that is because she no longer has eggs. And one thing, though, that has happened is that women have gotten pregnant after menopause. And they
Wow.
call it a menopausal baby. And it's because women have been known to have one egg or two eggs left.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it has
Interesting.
happened.
Fearfully and wonderfully made, eh?
Beautiful.
Okay, can you explain why and how menopause affects the sex drive?
Two reasons. One, menopause affects a woman's vagina. And in fact, 85% of women, postmenopausal women, have one issue or another. And when a woman's is dealing with vaginal dryness, itching, or burning, or leaking, or UTIs, she really is more focused on what's going on. She becomes more self conscious.
Her mind is
And
not there.
yes, that affects a woman, a woman, her womanhood. Many women, it affects their womanhood and they get turned off. They feel unattractive. So it does affect a lot of women, their mental state.
Wow, this menopause is serious.
Mhm.
And someone is asking, I can answer this one. Does the body have a backup plan for menopause?
Yes. In fact, you know what? God in His wisdom has set up a backup plan. On the top of our kidneys what's called adrenal glands. And those adrenal glands are supposed to kick in and produce a much weaker form of estrogen, estriol. And that is supposed to be able to sustain us.
Wow.
But because we are so under so much pressure and stress, the adrenal's number one job is to handle the pressure and the stress, to release the cortisol and the adrenaline. And so, if you're dealing with a lot of pressure and stress, your adrenal glands are going to prioritize releasing the cortisol and the other hormones over the other lighter form of estrogen.
Wow. So the answer is stress could mess up your backup
Didn't I say
system.
they're not a good marriage?
Because if your body continue to produce cortisol, produce,
Adrenaline, you're going to
then
put
the
on more
adrenaline
weight.
right,
And as long as
exactly.
that
And
stress is there, it's going to happen.
inhibit the
Yeah.
action of the adrenal glands.
Yes.
So
It weakens the
it weakens
adrenals.
it.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Wow, this thing is serious.
Yes, it is.
Okay, why is there you always hear people say there is a concern about heart disease during menopause? Can you share on that?
Yes, postmenopausal women especially.
Especially.
Because of the coalition or the job of estradiol in the body with cardiovascular health. One of the things about this estradiol is that it keeps the good cholesterol going in our body and keeps the bad cholesterol at bay. And when this estradiol diminishes, you no longer have that backing.
So it's bad cholesterol goes crazy.
When the cat's away, the mouse
Oh
will
my
play.
goodness.
And that's why women deal with all of this fat around here, abdominal fat, triglycerides, which is fat in the blood, cholesterol, high blood pressure, sugar, directly because of the fall of the estrogen and the estradiol in their body.
And the amazing thing is that once the good cholesterol is high, it helps to get rid of the bad cholesterol.
The bad cholesterol, right.
So if your good cholesterol is messed up and your bad cholesterol,
running
your
wild,
triglyceride and all of those things are high, that is what can clog up the arteries, cause stroke, heart attacks, and all of those
Yes,
things.
in fact, what's in the late 40s and 50s, research shows for women with increased risk, and the arteries become thinner and weaker because of the lack of estradiol in the body and functioning like it used to.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. How can our husbands support us when we're going through menopause? And this is for the married women, because the single woman.
Listen here,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Anyhow,
matter.
just deal with the married.
Yeah, for the married man. One of the things I tell men in the sessions that men are in is that, first of all, knowledge is a weapon. Once you understand what's going on, you know what to do. Many women, a couple of men, one gentleman said to me after the session, now I understand what's going on with my wife. Now I know how to help her. And because he was in the session, he learned about her body, what was going on, and I taught them what needs to be done. When a man is able to recognize your mood changing, he then knows, oh, baby, okay. And I teach them what to do. Her body, the imbalance of the hormones, we need to get it balanced again. The body's crying out, so we got to put some stuff back in the body.
Excellent. So
Yes.
women, get your husband involved. Do not hide it from them.
Yes.
Get them involved. They are your life partner.
Yes.
Let them share, and they share in the joys and the pains. The Bible, the marriage vow is for better or for worse.
And can I add, I am having a session on October 18th, what every woman should know about menopause, and every woman should come with their husbands.
Wow, excellent. Women, October 18,
Right
right
at
here
BFM.
at Bahamas Faith Ministry, what every
Woman
woman
should
should
know
know
about
about
menopause.
menopause. Please make yourself available. How can they
They
receive
can,
information about this?
okay, they can give me a call or text me 439-3242.
Can you give that number again?
439-3242.
And women, you can go back on YouTube and find Bahamas Faith Ministries streaming, and you can find that information, or you can call the church, Bahamas Faith Ministries, and find out the number for Patrice Lockhart. The information that she is going to, you cannot pay for it. This is to help to save your sanity.
And their
Because
life.
menopause can take away your sanity
Yes.
and like
Yeah, especially for
Patrice say, your
postmenopausal
life.
women.
That's right.
We don't understand this heart disease is because you no longer have estradiol.
And women, the more information you find out, the more knowledge you have, then you can help other sisters. You can support other sisters by sharing that information with them.
Yes.
Can you imagine if all of the sisters
Would
in your
share?
church, your local church, if all of the
Jeez.
sisters have this knowledge and share with each other? As a matter of fact, you can throw a menopause party. Have a party, a potluck.
I have
a
a friend,
potluck
one
and
of
let
my
all the women
clients
come
is
over and just
having a
talk about
menopause.
it.
I'm coming to her house and she's having a menopause
Yes,
party
I
with her
love that.
schoolmates, her old schoolmates, and we're having the food, all the menopause food for that evening. It's a couple of hours, yes.
And be open and honest and transparent. Everything is on the table because that is the only way you will receive help. You know, I was at a function the other day and a lady said that she does not like to go and seek help because information gets out, people will talk your business and all of that.
Foolishness.
But
It's time
the
for us to
first
get
thought
past
that
that
came to my
foolishness.
mind
Foolishness.
was, how bad do you want help? How much do you want help? You wouldn't worry about, so what if
Pride.
it happens to every woman.
Yes.
There is no woman on planet Earth that is a female that has not or will not go through menopause. So I encourage you ladies to, on October the 18th, which is Menopause Day, make yourself available, get the information, come and receive all of the important information that every woman needs to know and understand right here at the Diplomat Center on October the 18th. Well, Patrice, it has certainly been a pleasure having this conversation with you. I am sure every woman that heard this have learned a lot. I have learned a lot. I have been empowered. And I can truly say that when I was going through the menopause, some of the things you said to me, now I'm thinking back and saying, oh, that was it. And I'm a nurse. I'm a qualified nurse. I didn't understand some of those things. So thank you so much for being that oasis, for being that help that women need. God has truly purposed that. And he has allowed you to go through those things so that a passion could be built in you. And I pray continued blessings over you, that the Lord will be gracious to you in every area of your life so that you can be around long to help our women. God bless you.
Thank you.
This has been another empowering session of the School of Empowered Living. God bless you, and we will see you again next week at the same time for another uplifting, empowering session. Good evening.
Thank you for watching this week's Kingdom School of Empowered Living. If you've been blessed by tonight's program, let us know in the comments section or by emailing us at mystory.bfmi@gmail.com. Just got saved? Let us know and we will send you the book, What Do I Do Now? A 13-step guide by Dr. Dave Burrows to help you navigate through taking the next steps in your faith walk. Looking for a place to belong? Join us Sundays at 10 a.m. online or in person for our Kingdom Celebration service here at Bahamas Faith Ministries in beautiful Nassau, Bahamas. We promise you, your life will never be the same. Be sure to join us again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. for another Kingdom School of Empowered Living.